There we go. Hello, I am Carly Heath, and I am your teacher in GRA 101. And this is just going to be an introductory little demonstration where I'm going to demonstrate some things in Photoshop so that you'll be all set to do your week 1 and 2 assignments. So what we're going to do is, I thought I'd also share with you, as I just posted this in the announcements, since you all are all working on your journal for week 1, I posted in the announcements an example of a really great journal entry from week 1 of a previous class. And this journal entry hit all the points. It's substantially long, so 2 paragraphs, that's a nice length. It cites a source at the bottom. It specifically quotes, it paraphrases a section of the article so that I can tell that the student actually read the article. And just go ahead and when you're back in the classroom, do take a look at that journal entry because that will definitely help you. And what we're doing for our week 1 discussion is you're just typing your name on Photoshop. And most of you guys have already done this already, so you are pretty good. I think this is going to be easy peasy for you. And then next week, you're going to be making an 11 by 17 inch project, I believe. So what we're going to do is, just to make a new project in Photoshop, you go to File, New, or you click Create New. And I can't remember if there was a specific size it asks you to make your project. And let's pull up the discussion rubric. I believe it might have been 11 by 17. It doesn't say on the rubric. So I'll just make a document that's 11 by 17. So what we do is we go over here to the document size, and I'm going to put in inches. And the width is going to be 11, and the height is going to be 17. And I'll just make this 72 resolution right now. And then we're going to hit Create. And now I'm going to make a new layer by hitting Shift Command N. And here's a tip when you're working in Photoshop and you're watching any of my videos that I post in the announcement section of the classroom, to write down step by step everything that I do. And so, if you're writing down how to do the week 1 discussion, you'd write at the top of your page, how to do the week 1 discussion. And then you type in step 1, and then you'd write, go to File, New, and then you'd write step 2, hit Shift Command N to make a new layer. And if you're on a PC, that will be Shift Control N. Shift Control N if you're on a PC, Shift Command N if you're on a Mac. And if you really don't like using shortcut keys, you can go down to the bottom of the layers window here, right here, and you can click Create a New Layer. Now I'm going to hit my text tool. And usually whatever is showing up as your foreground color, in my case, red was the last foreground color I was using, that's what's going to show up on your text color up here. I have to move this I have a zoom window thing up here. So let's say if we want to make some text that's blue, we click on that color swatch at the top of the screen, click blue. And then if we want to choose a specific font, we choose our font from this list here. Right, I'll choose a nice little font. I like this. This font here is kind of minimal and elegant. And then we can choose the size here, right? And then wherever you click on your document, in my case, it's center aligned. that is where you're going to end up typing. So I'll just go ahead and write my name. Hello, my name is with an L, thank you. Right, and then whenever we're saving a document, we always save the native file format as well as whatever format is required for the assignment. So the native file format will have all of your layers, and then you can easily edit it. So we'll go File, Save As, and I'll go to my desktop. I'll make a new folder called GRA101 Schoolwork. Click Create, and then I'll name this GRA101 underscore week 1 underscore your name. And the .psd or the .photoshop file is the native file format that you can continue to edit weeks from now, months from now, years from now. It will have all of your layers. But what you turn in to clients, to employers, to your teachers is usually either going to be a PDF or a JPEG. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, where it says Format Photoshop. I'm going to select Photoshop PDF, and then I'm going to hit Save. And that is then the PDF, and I'll just save it as smallest file size, so it's a nice small file size. Okay, now next week, thought I'd give you guys a little heads up on what's coming up next week. You're going to be making a design brief for a fictional client. And what is a design brief? I'll be posting some examples in the classroom about what those are. But a design brief is not a paper. It's not a Microsoft Word document that's a long essay with a lot of content. A design brief tends to look something like this, where it's well designed. It's kind of like a mission statement of what your design is that you're going to be making for a client or an employer. And this one for Reebok, as you can see, not long paragraphs. It's not an essay. It gives a little bit about the company background. It tells us what your objective is. It tells us, bullet points of who your target audience is that you're trying to target with your design, with what your goal is with the thing that you're designing, and what voice, what style, what feeling you're trying to evoke with your design. And you can use a lot of adjectives when you're trying to figure out what your voice, what your style is that you're going to be designing in. And any research that you've done into your demographic, the people who are going to be viewing your content, and what the final deliverables are, if they're going to be in print or the web or the screen. And here's the thing, your design brief is something that, you're going to completely make this up. Some students like to imagine that their design brief is for a fictional client that they're going to have when they have a professional graphic design business. So they might make up a company name. They might have their own graphic design company, called Wendy Saran Graphic Design. And you are working for a client who is, making an advertisement campaign, making a branding campaign. And so you, as your Wendy Saran Graphic Design, come up with a design brief for that client. And you can well design it. You can make a little template that you can then use in the future for clients that you'll work with. So what are some ways that you can use language in your design brief for week 2? Here is a little example. I'm going to be posting this all in the classroom for week 2, so don't you worry about this. But some adjectives that you might be using when you're talking about design, you know, feminine or masculine. Is your design more feminine or masculine? Is your design more youthful or mature? Is it more luxurious or economical? Modern, classic. And you can also just go on the internet and do a search for random adjectives. And you can, any adjective can be used to describe design. And that's what's kind of really cool about design, is something can be whimsical, something can be evocative, something can be classy, something can be retro. And just saying those words puts a picture in your head of what that design might be like. So, you know, coming up for week 2, you are going to be making this design brief. And then you're also, for your discussion, you're going to be making a Photoshop document that is a little bit more complex than just your name, like what we did for week 1. You're going to be putting 3 layers on your Photoshop document. So let's do that now, so you guys will all be prepared for week 2. We're going to make a Photoshop document with 3 layers on it, okay? So first I'm going to go to File, New, and we're going to make a document that is 11 inches. Make sure it says inches and not pixels, 11 inches, because if you make it 11 pixels, it's going to be really small. And then the resolution is we'll make it 300 resolution. And I'll put it on RGB mode for now. And then I'm going to hit create. Okay, so we're going to put 3 layers on this document. The first thing I'm going to do is make a new layer, and I'll put in a background color. How about that? So we're going to go Shift Command N to make a new layer if you're on a Mac, or Shift Control N to make a new layer if you're on a PC. And then I'm going to go over to the tool panel, and I'm going to find my paint bucket tool. Now, your paint bucket tool might be hidden behind your gradient tool, because the gradient tool and the paint bucket tool are roommates together. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the little box on here that looks like it's dark and it gradually gets lighter on your tool panel, and you're going to click and hold, and then you're going to click on the paint bucket tool when that pops up. Now, whatever you have as your foreground color swatch is what you're going to be painting with your paint bucket. So right now my foreground color swatch is kind of this dark blue, and it's a little bit too dark for a background. When you're choosing a background color, you either want your background color to be very light, or you want your background color to be very dark, okay? Because if it's in the middle range, it won't be dark enough to have text on it and have that text be readable. So I'm going to choose a nice light yellow, and I'm going to click OK, and now I'm going to click on my document. Okay, so now I have this kind of light yellow document. Now I'm going to hit Shift Command N, and that's 1 layer. Now I'm going to put a second layer on here. So I'm going to go to my shape layers. And so here we have a number of layers here, a number of different shape layers, right? I'll choose the ellipse tool, and I'll draw with an ellipse first. Now, right now, my ellipse is this light yellow color. And if I have a light yellow ellipse on a yellow background, are you going to be able to see it? No. So what we're going to do is we're going to change our fill color to something different. I'm going to go to my rainbow color swatch here. And then I am going to pick something different. How about something in the orange realm? It's kind of nice. And I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to click and drag. There we go. We'll make a little circle. So now I have my second layer. Now we just need 1 more layer for full credit on our week 2 discussion. So now I'm going to go to Shift Command N to make a new layer. Shift Control N if you're on a PC, and you can also go down to the Make a New Layer icon at the bottom of the layer panel. Now I'm kind of actually going to go back to my previous color. And I'm going to use something from the Custom Shape tool, which is this little amoeba icon here. And I'm going to go up to the top of the screen. And this is my custom shape library. So the custom shape tool, which looks like that little amoeba there, gives you access to the custom shape library with all of these different shapes. So I'll select this flower shape. And I'm going to click and drag. There we go. And if I want to move this around, I can click my move tool and move this around. Moving it around will move the background. It's going to get a little bit tricky to move around the flower. So you have to click right on it. There we go. And now I have a document with 3 layers, and we're ready to submit it for our week 2 discussion. So we're going to always save our native file format, and to do that, we're going to go to File, Save As, File, Save As. We're going to call this GRA101 _ week 2 discussion, and then put your name. And we're going to save this as a Photoshop document. With layers, and then hit save. And now let's check in the classroom to see what is required. The raw PSD file. Okay, and it does ask you to make it a CMYK. So that's something that I accidentally saved it as a RGB. So to save it as a CMYK, we're going to go to Image, Mode, and just convert it to a CMYK, okay? So Image, Mode, and convert it to CMYK. And we'll click Don't Flatten. And now we're just going to go File, Save, because we already saved the file name. And now we just have it in the CMYK mode. Alrighty, now for your journal, you take the same exact document that you used for your discussion, and you're going to read this article about different basic elements of design, and then you're going to add, what does it ask you to do? It asks you to add 4 simple design elements. Okay, good. So some of the basic elements of design are color. We already have color, lines, shape, space, texture, typography, dominance and emphasis, harmony, and balance. Okay, so texture is really fun to add. And so I'm just going to add some texture really quickly to this design. And to do that, I am going to make a new layer by hitting Shift Command N. And then I'm going to go to File, Place Embedded, File, Place Embedded. And you can go on the internet and find textures, find photos that have cool textures, find, brick, find paper textures, find, find lots of interesting, glitter textures. So I have a folder here I made of all different textures that I found. Where there? There we go. Like this is just a photo of an interesting wall. And now I'm going to hit place. And so, like I said, this is just, actually it's a photo, I think, of some like rusted, melted steel. And I can get this to stretch and fill up the whole document. Enter return to place. And you probably want to see the design through the texture, right? That is where this really cool thing in Photoshop called blending modes comes in, because you can put like an interesting photo over the top of your design, like in this case, this rusted metal texture. Put it over your design, and then you put that on a blending mode. So I click on the layer that has the interesting texture. I go up to this drop-down menu here that says normal, and I change it to overlay. And see, by changing it to overlay, now the design has this interesting metal aged texture to it, okay? But you can just scroll through all of the different blending modes, and you can see they all give you really interesting results. Okay, so another element that is in the Life Hacker article on elements of design is color. So you are more than welcome to change the color of your design. And there is an adjustment layer that does that. If you go down to the circle that's light on one side, dark on the other at the bottom of the layer panel, you can click on this adjustment layer that pops up called hue saturation. And you can move this hue slider around to see what your design will look like in a different color. So one of the design elements you can do is, okay, you could say, I decided to make my design magenta instead of yellow, or instead of whatever color you used before. So we've used now 2 new elements of design. Another element of design that it said was line. So I'm going to make a new layer. And there is a tool, a couple of different ways to use line here. You have your line tool, of course. So you can get your line tool out, and you can, if you want, right now my line tool is set to 3 pixels. You can throw some lines on there and do something like that, which is, these are just some nice, like, little subtle lines. You can also go down here to the custom shape tool and use the polygon tool, because the polygon tool allows you to make stars, and that's a really great way to make converging lines. So if you go use the polygon tool and then go up to the top of the screen to the little gear icon, we can click on star. We can indent the sides by 99%. I'll put like 50 sides on my star, and watch, you can make these like radiating lines. And that's a great, see, it's kind of like a Japanese style now. I'm going to get rid of all of these other weird lines here because they kind of distract. But that's kind of nice too. Now we have those lines. Another way to make line in your design is, again, by going to the custom shape tool. And then there's these lines here that a lot of students have enjoyed using. And you can do something like this. And that's some different lines, okay? And I believe then it's something else, balance, harmony, scale, texture, typography. Yeah, we don't have any typography on here. So let's throw some typography on here. I actually don't really like this particular design element. I like it just like that, a lot better. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is make a new layer. I'm gonna get my text tool out. I wanna make it pink so that it stands out. I'll choose an interesting font. How about a little Avenir? find the center, and then we'll make some text. I'll just put the word flower. There we go. And then we have some text. And that is all you have to do for the week 2 assignment is, take what you took for your discussion, add some different design elements to it, and call it good. Call it, get it turned in. And what it's asking you to do is turn in okay, got your discussion. Let's see what it doesn't specifically say what file type you want to save it as. So I'm going to have you guys submit it as a JPEG. So we're going to go to File, Save As, and we're going to call this GRA Week 2 Journal. And of course, we're going to save the PSD file. And for turning something in, JPEG makes things so much easier because it's a nice small file size. So we're going to go to File, Export, Save for Web. File, Export, Save for Web is a great way to make a nice, small, compressed, optimized JPEG file. We're going to change GIF to JPEG. And then we're going to hit Save. And we're going to go to GRA. Perfect. And that JPEG is what we're going to be turning in. Now, to give you guys a little taste of what's to come, scroll up. You're going to start to come up with ideas for a project that's going to be a collage of some sort. And with this collage, you can do whatever you want. And don't worry, this is not something you have to worry about in week 2. And I don't even think we're going to be getting started on it in week 3. This is just the final project. That's what's to come. And I want to show you some examples. And that's why I'm bringing up this previous version of the class. So in, I believe, week 3 or 4, you're going to be making a mood board to inspire you, and I'll have a whole class session on how to make a mood board, but you're going to be coming up with ideas for the colors, the types of imagery that you will see in your collage. And then what you're going to be doing is putting together an actual interesting collage. And here are some examples of final projects from previous versions of the class. And as you can see, the sky is really the limit as far as what you can do with your final project in this class. A lot of students like to imagine that they're having a design studio of their own, and they're coming up with their kind of imagery, their branding for their design studio, and that's what their collage is based on. So here are some different collages that I think have been really effective and interesting. And don't worry at all, because if you come to these live class sessions, I will show you all the tools that you will need to know in order to do your assignments and be successful with Photoshop, okay? So I want to open it up to questions if you guys have any. So do you have any specific questions or requests? I'm here for you, so feel free to just ask in the chat. You can also turn on your microphone if you want and ask questions as well. So Wendy, that's a good question about your design brief. Here's the thing for the design brief. The sky is the limit as far as what you can do with it. In the past, some students have liked to imagine that they have their own design company and they make up a client. Like a client could be an animal shelter. And so they're going to do branding for that animal shelter. Or a client could be a video game company. Just keep in mind it needs to be a fictional company, not a real company, because you don't want to use logos or imagery that's already copyright protected and being used for that company. So some people, you know, will make up branding for a video game company. Will make up branding for a uh, someone's wedding, even, or a fashion company. And some people just make their design brief for their own graphic design company and what they want their business to convey. So whether you want to go one route where it's like you are the already existing design company and you are making a separate brief for a company, or whether you are making your own design brief for your own company, either way you want to do it is totally fine with me. And I'm very flexible, and I make assignments really open-ended so that you have a chance to be creative and do what you want for the assignment. Yes, it can absolutely be connected to the final project. Yeah, so you can make your design brief for what your final project is going to be. Definitely. Any other questions, anyone? Oh, good. I'm sure your logo is awesome. Alrighty. So I'm sure we'll have more to cover next week. I mean, week 1 and 2 are just super, super easy and very, very basic. So nothing too challenging. We'll have more to talk about next week when we talk about the design brief. And I have some pre-recorded videos that I made talking about the design brief. So I'll be posting those to the classroom Sunday night so that you can get started on those on Monday. Yep, no problem at all. Any final questions before we log off? All right, you guys, thank you so much for being an awesome class. I will see you in the classroom. Bye, guys.